Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got Bill Rivas from Millennial Baits. He's going to go over one of his preferred ways to use prawns. Not necessarily the coonie, the little prawn, but the big full-size guys. And just looking at it, I would absolutely troll this behind a fish flash. I would troll it naked. I would back bounce it. His baits are extremely durable. Thank you for that. It makes it so much nicer, especially when you get old and you can't see as well. It's nice to have a solid, durable bait, or on anchor, just like he has set up. So let's take a look with that Kershaw Tech Cam and see what he's got for us here. First thing I'm going to say, it just looks beautiful. And I know that these two hooks right here, for some, are going to go, what in the world is a story with those two little tiny hooks back there?
Yeah. So I'm just doing a little threaded deal here where you can kind of get that shoved up into the eye. But yeah, I'm just threading that bait through the back of the tail here.
And are you just using an old school worm threader?
Just a worm threader, and just shove it all the way through, pull your line. The problem with this rig is you are going to have to retie every time you go to rebait.
Which is the only drawback to using a threader.
The only drawback, right. But when they go to pick that head.
Look at the way that the bait's presented, and you don't have a bunch of wrap on there, a bunch of string or rubber bands. And with his baits, you know, I'm not going to say every single one of them are going to stay together all day long, right? They are very much, though, durable enough to fish for quite a while, but nothing on there to interfere with what you got going on. It's just a super pretty setup.
Yeah, exactly. I just like everything nice and laid out. If they try to pick at that head, they're going to catch those hooks pretty good. Sometimes I like to do a different rig where I send a single hook through the tail so I can flare that tail out more like that and kind of get a wacky spin going on. But past that, that kind of will do it right there.
So you're just using the worm threader. Tell us about the setup. So you got a fixed rig with two size 6s there?
Yeah, so these are size 6s, and sometimes they can get lost in that bait just because they're a little small, and that's a big bait. But with that said, I'm doing that because of these eyes. These eyes are a little bit smaller, so I can kind of fit it up into that carapace and replace that eyeball falling out that you can kind of see. So yeah, that's kind of what I do that.
Okay, so two size 6 treble hooks. Size 4s are just going to have a little bit larger of an eye, might make it more difficult to get it into that carapace, which makes sense. If you had a 25-pound Chinook come up behind this bait and he decides to grab this bait, those two size 6s are going to smoke him. I'm just telling you, they're sticky, sticky sharp. And you got to have quality hooks. What do you like to run?
These are the Mustad KVDs. That's about exclusive what I use now, just because they are sticky, they are strong, all of it.
And one of the things I'm just going to give everyone, if you do decide to purchase a size 6 hook to use for Chinook fishing, one of the things that you want to, if it's a Gamakatsu, one of the best on the planet. Mustad, one of the best on the planet. If you squeeze these hooks from side to side and you cannot move them, which you cannot move these hooks. I'm squeezing on these hooks as hard as I can without getting myself hooked, and they're not moving at all. That is what you're looking for. If you pick out a size 6 or a size 4 hook to try to do something like this, and you can flex the hook, you're done. I'm just going to tell you right now, you hook a decent fish, odds are you're going to stretch that little hook, and it's over. So make sure you use quality hooks like what Bill's referring to.
When I'm using these small hooks too, I do back my drag off a couple clicks.
Makes sense.
You know, let them really chew on it. You know, there's no reason to grab the rod early. Let them really get it down there because they are smaller hooks, and you don't want them to bend out if they're in the corner of the mouth because they will.
Absolutely, that's a good point. So then on top of that, you've got some size 6 or size 6 millimeter beads up above it. A 4 above that, and then an interchangeable clevis.
I do, yeah. That way I can flop my blade out, switch it really quickly. Oregon Tackle sells these. I think I saw them at Fisherman's the other day, actually. But you can just pop that blade off real fast, throw on another blade if you want, and that's kind of the ticket.
I really like it, and I'm going to admit, when he first said that the only drawback is that you have to retie is one of the reasons why I've gone away from that years ago. If you were to jump in David Johnson's boat, one of his favorite ways to run, and he's shared it here on the air, is the same thing, threading it through, because you're going to get a very clean bait, a bait that's going to be durable as long as you got a good bait to start with, and you end up with something that looks like, I mean, it just looks fishy. If I was a salmon, there's no way I'm passing that up.
No, I don't think I would either.
Now, when we come back, because we're going to cut out, I want a little bit of extra time. I want to talk a little bit about stuffer baits, okay? And you actually brought in a pre-wrapped killer fish here. We're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite products that you introduced here, at least to me. I was unaware until you came in last year, mulch. Before we cut away, though, tell everybody what mulch is so they can kind of chew on that, no pun intended, before we come back from this break. What's in there?
It's a combination of mixed tuna and my shrimp. It's pretty much essentially just ground up Millennials and tuna mixed. So you get a good combination of both. You're not missing out on the tuna by just having shrimp, but you're also getting all of it. So
it's pre-mixed with your pre-cured baits.
Yes, it is.
With tuna.
Yep, and it's ground up, so you can put it in stuffer baits, you can wrap it on plugs, you can do tuna balls. The options are all over there.
I mean, a ton of options. Great shop, too, by the way. We're going to be back with Bill in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective. And by North American Metals Incorporated, first choice for all your metal roofing and siding needs.